Alright. I know you're using this cable. It's called USB-C. And at this point, something like 90% of people with phones are stuck with it, especially since Apple finally ditched their precious little lightning cable and switched to USB-C because they did not really have a choice. But I'm willing to bet you do not actually know what USB-C means, not the part that matters, because you have 100% been here. Your iPad is stone dead. You plug in a USB-C cable, nothing. You swap to another USB-C cable that looks identical, same port, same connector, and ding, it wakes right up. Now you're staring at the cables like, same connector. How is one cable useless and the other one works instantly? Then you copy files. One cable is so slow you can make coffee and come back to copying, 3%. Swap cables and the same transfer finishes before you even think to check it. And charging a laptop is the best one. One USB-C cable makes your MacBook climb fast. The other charges so gently, you start wondering if it's negotiating every single percent. What makes this extra annoying is that a lot of devices do not even come with cables anymore. So now you're living in this daily mind game. Which cable matches which brick, which one is charge only, which one can actually move data, which one can output a display. You open that end-of-the-world drawer full of random cords, and you're doing cable tryouts, like it's a puzzle game. And if you just grab one at random and plug it in, that's how you lose 10 minutes of your life for no reason. So today, I want to lock in one sentence that explains all of it. USB-C is not a promise that everything works the same. USB-C is just the shape. What decides whether that cable is actually useful is the stuff inside. First, what does USB even stand for? Universal Serial Bus. And universal sounds like it should mean one thing works with everything, no questions asked. In real life, USB is a big family, and this family has one talent, making two different kinds of information look like the same thing. The first is the letters. The letters are just the connector shape. Type A is the classic old rectangle you've seen on desktops forever. Type B is that chunky, squarish plug you'll run into on printers. And Type C is the small oval one, the main character of today's story. And honestly, Type C earned its fame before we even talk speed, because it's reversible. No more flipping a plug around like you're trying to crack a safe. I always end up flipping it 2 or 3 times like it's a tradition. Now the second thing people mix up with the shape is the numbers. These are the versions you've seen on boxes and product pages. USB 2.0, USB 3.0, USB 3.2, and USB 4. USB 2.0, often the plain, non-colored ports on a lot of PCs, tops out at slower data speeds. That's why big file transfers can feel painfully slow. If you want faster copy speeds, use a newer USB port. On many PCs, that's often the one with a colored tab inside. Because as the numbers go up, the data pipe gets wider. USB 2.0 is mail it, USB 3.0 something is ship it, USB 4 can feel instant, assuming the cable and the devices on both ends are actually built for it. And that's the trap. People say USB-C like it's one unified super cable. It isn't. USB-C is the shell. Type A, Type B, Type C are shapes. The numbers tell you what it can actually do. So two cables can look identical, while one is basically a back road on the inside, and the other is a freeway. Back in the older USB days, life was simple. A cable basically needed 2 jobs: carry power so something could charge, and carry data so you could move files. That was it. Everyone was happy. USB-C showed up in an era where one port is expected to do everything. Charge your phone, charge your laptop, move huge files, run a monitor, connect a dock, power an external SSD. That single little oval is trying to replace half the ports that used to live on a laptop. So here's what changed. Not every USB-C cable is wired the same way inside. Some USB-C cables are basically charging cables. They'll still do data technically, but it's the kind of data you keep around so the product can legally say USB. You can copy files, sure, just don't be surprised when it feels like you're sending photos by carrier pigeon. Other USB-C cables are built with more lanes inside, more pathways for data to move at higher speeds. And with the right wiring, a cable can even handle video output to a display, plus all the dock stuff people expect. That's why this gets so annoying in real life. Everything fits, everything connects, it might even charge. But it does not always do the thing you bought it for. You thought you bought a USB-C cable. What you actually bought was one of many different kinds of USB-C cables that all look the same from the outside. This is the part where USB-C turns into something that's both smart and mildly irritating. Power delivery. People just call it PD. The idea is solid. Instead of a charger blasting out one fixed amount of power, the charger and your device do a quick check-in through the USB-C connection. You plug it in, and in a split second, they basically agree on what's safe. The charger's trying to send power, and your device is like, cool, here's what I can handle. Please don't turn me into a hand warmer. That little check-in matters because the charger does not just guess. It wants proof there's an actual device connected and ready to receive power. Think of the charger like someone standing at the door with a box labeled power, asking, anyone here to pick this up? Your device has to raise its hand and say, yep, that's me. That hand raise is a tiny signal, basically a resistor that tells the charger, real device connected. Once the charger sees it, it delivers power the right way, at the right level. And here's the part that's both funny and infuriating. A lot of ultra cheap stuff, USB rechargeable flashlights, mini fans, random little gadgets you grabbed for a few bucks on Temu or AliExpress, sometimes do not even bother soldering in that resistor. They're saving literal pennies, like a couple cents. But the consequence is ridiculous. Your nice modern USB-C to USB-C cable, the good one, the gadget, won't charge. You plug it in and it just sits there like nothing happened. Then you grab an old USB-A to USB-C cable, the one you thought you'd never need again, and it starts charging like nothing was ever wrong. So yeah, as annoying as it sounds, some cheap devices just won't work with C to C. You basically have to keep one junk A to C cable around as the designated babysitter for bargain bin gear. Okay, now let's talk about the laptop situation. Same charger, same MacBook, both cables are C to C. Why does one charge fast and the other feels slow? Because PD does not just check the device, it also checks the cable. More power means more current, and more current means more heat. So when the system wants to push higher wattage, it asks one extra question behind the scenes. Can this cable actually handle it? That's where better cables have an advantage. Higher power USB-C cables often include a tiny chip inside called an E-marker. Think of it like an ID badge. It tells the charger and the laptop, I'm rated for higher power, you can safely send more. If the cable does not have that ID badge, the system plays it safe. It will still charge, but it may cap the power lower than what your laptop and charger could actually do. And that's when you get that painfully familiar experience. You're plugged in, you're working, and the battery percentage just kind of sits there. Not dropping fast, not climbing fast, just hanging out. So no, you're not being haunted by USB ghosts. It's just a system that's smart enough to be picky. Quick side note, if you're on Android, on USB-C, the most common everybody can use it fast charging standard is power delivery, PD. But Android brands also love their own fast charge labels. SuperVOOC, Warp, Hypercharge, Turbo Power, you name it. Just remember, those big numbers they advertise, like 80 watts, 120 watts, are usually with the original gear. Use the brand's charger with the cable it expects, and you'll hit that headline speed. Mix and match, even if it's still USB-C to USB-C on both ends, and you can get a totally different result. It'll charge, but the phone will quietly drop down to a slower mode, usually regular charging or plain PD. If you want one setup that works across a bunch of devices, go with a good PD charger and a solid USB-C cable. I'll tell you exactly what to look for in the ending. So is there actually a one cable that does everything? Yes, but it's not the kind you grab randomly from a bin that says USB-C and call it a day. If you want the closest thing to buy at once and stop thinking about cables, you want a cable that's clearly rated for high power charging with USB power delivery and also has a modern data standard that can handle the heavy stuff, fast transfers, docks, and video out. Keep it simple. Look for USB 4 40 gigs per second and 240 watts charging on the label. That's the sweet spot for one cable that charges your laptop and handles big transfers without feeling sluggish. And if you want the less drama version, that's where Thunderbolt shows up. The cable with the little lightning bolt logo, usually marked Thunderbolt 4 or Thunderbolt 5. Thunderbolt is basically USB-C with stricter rules. More expensive, yes, but it's the one that tends to just work with nicer docks, faster external SSDs, and running a display, yes, including a clean 4K setup, without you doing cable roulette. There is one catch that feels a little unfair. The faster and more capable the cable, the less it likes being long. High-speed signals don't love long distances, so the really good do-it-all cables are often around a meter, sometimes less. If you're imagining a cable that's ultra-fast, ultra-powerful, and long enough to reach across the room like an appliance cord, USB-C is gonna politely ask you to lower your expectations. And here's the tiny habit that saves your sanity. When you finally get one truly good cable, don't let it disappear into the mystery drawer with the anonymous ones. Label it, keep it in a separate spot, because the thing that drives you crazy isn't the tech. It's grabbing the wrong cable for the 10th time and wondering why your monitor won't light up, or your laptop is charging like it's on a lunch break. USB-C took us pretty far. One port doing way too many jobs. The trade-off is the same shape, different abilities. If you like these simple but surprising tech explainers, hit like so the video can find more people, and drop a comment. What's the weirdest cable you've ever kept in your drawer? The one you do not even know what it's for, but you still cannot bring yourself to throw away?